Hello, everybody, and welcome to my first episode of Wild Instincts on my Tia Talk podcast platform. So, some of you have actually heard this story before, and it's going to be a long one, and not just in one episode, but you've heard this general background on my life and how I actually got my start. Let me dial it back just one little notch. And I think I talked about this last week. When I went on Spotify specifically, and I was listening to several dog training, dog behavioral podcasts. I mean, don't get me wrong. They were amazing. Okay? Knowledgeable. Great. But in some of them, I could see how the average person might have a hard time following what they were talking about. And I'm knowledgeable, but I'm old school. You know, I don't, some of the lingo, you know, I just kind of go like, that's a little much. So what I decided to do with Wild Instincts is have more of a normal conversation with the average dog owner, but teach you how I learned, because I am so fortunate to have been taught by the animals themselves with very little direction from the human. So let me tell you a little bit about the story and how it got started. I've been running Villalobos Rescue Center since the 90s, I think 93. And or maybe, I don't even know, mid 90s. I was thrown into it. My estranged brother, who I can't stand, not a good human, shows up at my door one day out of like not seeing him for years and years. And, you know, I've always been an animal person. My stepmother raised me. I was into horses, dogs. You know, I've always had a lot of different animals around me. I had a bobcat when I was younger, a lot of raccoons, possums, ravens. Those were all my animals. And he shows up with this big white dog and says he can't keep him. That he was supposed to be a good guard dog, but he's not. And he was very wolfy looking. And my brother told me that he was a wolf hybrid, a wolf dog. And this dog was very, very friendly. My brother so nicely named him Cujo. Anyways, I took Cujo, told my brother to kick rocks, and then I started doing my homework on wolf dogs. What were they? How were they? And I learned a lot. I learned that, you know, when you mix a dog with a wolf, you can get anything. You know, you can get a dog that may look like a wolf, but acts more like a dog. Or you can get one that looks more like a dog, but acts more like a wolf. And what I mean by acting like a wolf, wolves in general are very shy animals. So here are these idiots breeding these dogs, you know, and the average person comes along and says, oh, I want an exotic animal. I want a piece of the wild. And then they find out that, you know, no pun intended, but they've bitten off more than they can chew. So as the word got out that I had this big polar bear of a wolf dog, next thing I know, one turned into two, turned into three. The next thing I know, I have 5 of them in my condo in the East San Fernando Valley. Now, there were various degrees, meaning 2 were very, very, very outgoing and not afraid of people at all. Then I had a red one. It was kind of a red and brown one named Cherokee, terrified of people, very wolfy. So it just went from there. I was living with my younger daughter's father at the time, and he and I ended up separating right after Mariah was born. So there I was with Mariah, a newborn, and my older daughter, Tanya. I didn't have the twins yet. And 5 wolf dogs. And he walked out on us. And, oh boy, my cat just took off into the swamp. Oh my God. What is he chasing? Speaking of wild animal. Anyways, single mom, 2 kids, 5 wolf dogs. No money. So I had to find another place to live that I could afford, and we ended up moving up north in I don't think it was the Angeles National Forest, or maybe it was, but it was way up in the woods. And it snowed, we're talking like 6 feet of snow, and that's where I lived for a while. Well, after being there, I don't know, maybe a year, we reconciled, and my daughter's father wanted to get back with me. We were struggling, I'm not going to lie. Me and the kids and the dogs were struggling. I was bartending late at night. It was rough. So he was renting a property down in the Santa Clarita Valley of California. It's called Agua Dulce. And I moved on to his property that he was renting. There was a mobile home at the back of the property, and that's where I stayed with my wolf dogs. And next thing I know, I ended up with 3 more. 3 black ones. They were siblings. I got them from another rescue. And that's where Villalobos Rescue Center started taking off. And I started learning more and more about these dogs. From there, we ended up moving to the 10-acre place that y'all saw on our TV show, Pibbles and Parolees. And that's where Villalobos Rescue Center really expanded. It hadn't become Villalobos Rescue Center yet, and I did have, a decent-sized pack of wolf dogs. I want to say maybe around 10 at that point. And I met up with a woman named Nicole Wild, and I'm giving you the very quick clip notes of it so we can get into the nitty-gritty. And she helped me, together we kind of put this together, this wolf dog rescue, and she was into wolves, and that's where we started. And we learned on our own, learning how to build enclosures that were escape proof, and learning about the different temperaments and how wrong the breeding of these dogs was, how unfair it was. So my reputation of being Villalobos Rescue Center, because at this point, like I said, I became official, became a nonprofit, and my reputation started getting around that, hey, she kind of knows what she's doing. And again, I learned on my own. I grew up a cowgirl, like I was a redneck. I was on horses, livestock, rodeoed, showed horses. So I was around animals that were, 1,200 pounds. So anything less than that didn't really intimidate me. I said, you rodeo your whole life. You're around bulls, you're around cows, steers, goats, horses, anything, dogs. I mean, to me, the wolf dogs were just dogs. Pretty dogs. Pretty fucking dogs. And I started helping out with these dogs at the animal shelters. They were getting them, back then it was like the trend. Everybody wanted a wolf dog. So a lot of them were ending up in animal shelters or loose. They would get loose in neighborhoods. And the local shelter would call me in to catch them. Nicole and I were running around all over Southern California catching wolf dogs. Well, I caught the attention of a company near me, actually, in Agua Dulce, that trained exotic animals for the movie industry. And in that area of Agua Dulce, there was quite a few of these companies that kept animals that they used for the film industry. Now, I know it's a very controversial topic, and I agree. Some of the people that had those animals treated them like crap. This particular company, I got lucky. because they were amazing. And they approached me with the opportunity of a lifetime. And I'm going to leave you with that cliffhanger. And on the next episode, we'll get more into this story. So there you have it, where it all began. All right, y'all. I will talk to you next week. Until then, happy howls.